Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December 13th, 2022 meeting of the Hatfield Select Board. As usual, I'm going to open the meeting by reading our public participation policy. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. I'm going to go to announcements first. We'll get to public forum briefly.
Well, sadly, we lost the passing of our veteran service officer, Jerry Clark. So he put in a lot of hours for very low pay. He will be missed by many in this community. So I just don't know what to say, but that's all I'm gonna say.
He was a good man who did good work, and we always appreciated him, and he will be missed. And he was a veteran, and we honor and respect that.
Yep. I've known Jerry for decades because we both had a history at Verizon, NYNEX, New England Telephone, whatever it is, through the years.
NYNEX.
So I got to know him through telephone company work before then being here in the town of Hatfield. He had a great reputation then, and he had a great reputation now. He was a very, very nice man, and my condolences to his family.
Yeah. Any other announcements?
Well, I mean, we got Luminarium coming up. We have somebody here on the Luminarium to discuss it. I know that there's.
Sure, come on up.
So, I'm sure everybody knows who I am, but Carrie Flaherty. So tonight I'm here for part of the Hatfield Firefighter Association as the vice president and soon to be president in January. The bonfire that everybody's aware of is a great fundraising event for our association. And every year after we do our event, we like to make donations to different parts of things in the community or other groups or something that might come up as a suggestion. And we, as the bonfire committee, which is a small group of us association members, come up with topics and ideas, and then we bring it back to the association as a whole and vote on as a whole. So this year, we, after the bonfire and after meeting last month, have unanimously decided to make a donation first to the Friends of the Council on Aging. So we made a $1,000 donation to the Friends of the COA, and that's to hopefully help for them to continue to do their events in the park and any other events that they like to hold throughout the year. We are donating, which I have for you tonight, $1,500 to the Celebration Committee to help continue with those events that the Celebration Committee will continue to put on since it started from the 350th, and we have now changed into that. And the last donation will be a $2,500 donation to the Smith Academy Athletic Booster Club to help put dugouts for the varsity baseball fields so that both the varsity softball field and the baseball fields will have full dugouts for sporting events. So I just wanted to be able to bring this tonight and give it to you all. I already spoke to the Celebration Committee last week because they were meeting, and I went down and told them that this is what we were doing, but I know that the check has to kind of come to the town and then goes to their group. So I just figured this was the place to make that announcement tonight.
Well, that's amazing. All three of those donations are totally amazing. So it's amazing that one event where we have so much fun can then go on to help sponsor so many other events where we're also going to have fun.
I know I speak for the whole group of us that do this. It's a lot of time and energy that we all put into it. But it ends up being a great event each year. This year was, I might have my years off, but it's either our 9th or 10th year of doing it. And we're super grateful. We've been able to purchase equipment that ends up not having to be the town's expense. And we purchased our utility truck at one point in time from the association also. So the money goes towards a lot of great things for us as a department. But we also have the ability to make great donations throughout the years to other places too. So we're grateful to be able to do this year for all those three groups, and look forward to next year's event to hopefully either make donations again to all those same groups, or to at least, help out other groups in the town too. We've been able to help the Legion, the Lions, the Lions Club. So, and there's been others, the Shriners, we've made donations to and stuff. So there's been other groups that we've been able to help out too. So
Yeah, a lot
Very
of
nice.
good things over the years have come from all, what I know is a lot of hard work.
yes,
A lot of crazy
a lot
hard
of time
work.
and energy, but we all put
Yeah.
it in. It's not just one or two people. There's a lot of us that throw our time in. So
And it's such a great event.
yes, and we're thankful
Yeah.
for everybody that comes and supports it, because it does turn out to be a great event each year.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's very generous and we appreciate it very much. Did you want to, you said you had some information
I
about,
don't really have information about Luminarium other than it is this Saturday night. The association and the fire department is going to have our normal, hot coffee and hot chocolate and Atkins donuts after the music out front. And then I know that I believe the chief had informed us at drill last week that fireworks, I believe, I don't know if it's on the list, but I think it's at 6:40 they go off, to give people time to finish with music out front and get to where they might want to be able to watch the fireworks. Obviously, you can pretty much see them from anywhere in town, but to give them that ability to be able to enjoy out front before.
and is the road closed down again like last time?
I don't
They
want to speak
stop
for the police
traffic,
department,
yeah.
but I believe so. I know that Chief Koshek had said he'll be here Saturday, so I'm assuming the same. He'll have a few of their officers and they'll stop traffic for that time period of the
okay.
fireworks like they did last year.
I'm sure they'll do that this year.
I mean, I just go by what I read online. There was a posted online that it starts at 6. They're asking everybody to light the candles at 5:30,
Right.
and then the police chief requested everybody to keep their headlights on.
Yes, the police chief wants
during the
everybody to keep their headlights on.
Which is not
and
how we used to
There'll
do
be
it. so
nobody
it's different.
allowed near the elementary school or Lions Pavilion for the fireworks. So
Excuse me.
I assume they're going to do the same as last year.
Correct. So nobody will be able to go down beyond the school area past. I don't know the exact time, but I think
It's
either
early.
it's like 1,
Early.
maybe 2 o'clock. It's early in the afternoon, and that's because once the fireworks display starts being arranged, it will be blocked off, and people will not be able to be in that area until probably the next day by the time they finish everything in the evening and secure the location. So that does take up a few hours of time, but just so people know that you won't be able to be, now there's snow, but you won't be able to be down there and in the back fields or anything like that for any reason.
Or park down there.
Or park down there.
That's
right.
not a
There's
parking
no parking down
option.
there either. So if anybody sees the fire trucks there or the fire cruiser or anything like that parked blocking traffic, that would be why.
Right.
So.
Oh, well, it worked out well last year. So I think,
And
Well,
I'm excited. I
townspeople would-
believe, if I read it correctly, the Congregational Church, they're doing their choir is doing their event this year, which is great that that's
thought I
back
read
I think
and,
it's,
and
and
happening.
I think it's after the
It's
fireworks.
it's after the fireworks, but that's always was an important part of
Yeah.
Luminarium as a whole. So it's nice to see that they're able to do that again. I know COVID kind of put a damper on that, so it's
Yeah.
great to see that they're doing that again.
Prettiest night in town.
It is.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the donation,
Absolutely.
Thanks, Karen.
for the one to us and the one to the other organizations. We appreciate
I did
it.
put on there for celebration committee.
All right, thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Thank
Karen.
you, Carrie. So that kind of morphed into public forum too. Is anyone else here for public forum? Any other announcements?
No, this is our last meeting before Christmas, so I just want to say Happy Christmas to everybody and wish everybody happy holidays before we forget, because we get through the
And
end of the
Happy New
meeting
Year
and we're-
even,
Right.
because we don't meet right until January now.
Correct.
So, yeah, Happy New Year, happy holidays. Okay, so our first article of posted business is we're joined tonight by Rich Abbott, who is Chair of the Open Space Committee. Rich, you want to come up?
I'll get
Hmm?
that. We'll just do the minutes
The
after
minutes.
this.
Oh, okay, sorry. I
Okay.
skipped the minutes. I got all out of sorts, but that's okay. So Rich, we have a vote to approve changes to the architectural services authorization. This is for the pavilion in the center of town. Did you want to speak
Yeah,
to that?
so we, trying to get the
back on track with the pavilion construction. Everyone would like to see it up there soon. So a couple of months ago, we reached out to the firm that did the previous cost estimate, which, as you may remember, was over $300,000. We reached out to them in hopes that maybe costs have gone down, but not so much.
I
Things might have gone down, but things gone up.
appreciate your optimism, but yeah.
So we have, don't really have much confidence that we can proceed with that design and actually get it built. So what we wanted to go forward with is a totally new design, which is a timber frame type structure, much simpler. I think affordable, significantly less cost than what our current design is, and certainly well within the funds that we have. We've reached out to a couple of timber frame firms, and the way that works, they do all the cutting and basically all the engineering on their site, and then come in and put it up. And based on what they were giving us the figures, like I said, it's a significantly less cost. The other issues that we've run into is we do need a general contractor. The timber frame folks will put up the structure, but we need someone to coordinate the work, someone to coordinate the electrician and the roofers. And in the past, because we're over that threshold, which is $150,000, the state requires the contractor to be DCAM certified. And there's just a limited amount of contractors that are certified because there's a cost associated to it. So we did reach out with two local firms who are DCAM certified, just to sort of run this idea about that there would be a GC under for a timber frame thing, and they were interested. So we're kind of confident on that end too. So what the contract or proposal you have in front of you is from our architect, Laura Fitch, who has hung in there with us for a number of years and has really gone over and above what she's been paid for. So, and the way she has this contract, which she kind of has this rollover cumulative type thing, but basically this is allocating an additional $17,000, half of which is for her. She has to subcontract out someone who does the timber frame specifications. It's not particularly in her realm of experience. So she'll still coordinate the total design, but there's certain specifications for timber frame design that she needs a specialist for. So that's what the sort of part 2 is, and the part 3 is her piece. So if we go ahead and reach agreement with her again, then we would be within the next couple of weeks, hopefully, or certainly by the beginning of January, meeting with her. And it should be a fairly quick process in terms of coming up with a design. We have, there's only so many basic things you can do with a timber frame. A couple of gables and determine the height and all that. We would be going out to bid in February, and fingers crossed, get everything built this year, which I know people really like to see a structure up there.
So we don't know what it would look like.
No, I can give you because the design's not here. I can give you a sort of photo that kind of is generally what a timber design would look like.
Okay, but I mean, wasn't the big to-do that townspeople voted on a particular design?
Yes, and that's why.
I mean, I know that has been deemed not,
Right, that's why I felt like that.
Thanks, Rich.
And so it would look similar to this, and this is fairly small. What would the dimensions
It's
be?
a 22, approximately 22 by 24, either 22 by 22 or 24 by 24. The pad, I believe,
so that
I
might,
believe is 30 by 30.
Yeah,
And the whole idea was to have a little bit of spillover.
Yeah.
right.
And yes, we did have a sort of a referendum of 3 designs, and the one that was chosen was the one we had been working on, but it's just not, unfortunately, not likely to happen.
And so do you have a ballpark of how much less this would be? Or, I mean, I know it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's certainly
My
nothing.
fingers crossed, I think everything in would be under $200,000.
Okay.
Actually, I'd like to commend your committee because this has been a long process.
It really
We've
has,
asked you-
fraught with.
We've asked you a
To be
couple of
employed when
times
it started.
to go back and try to get the price down. And I know it's not exactly the design that everybody wanted, but
Yeah.
it was just so expensive for that last design.
If I hold this up, do you think you could?
And I think it's been a long process, and I think we should
Can you see
move
it?
ahead with this because it's been needed.
Yeah.
And we're not, if we keep waiting, we're only going to get the prices to go up.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not a color picture, but it's a Douglas fir is the standard timber they use in that. It's, it's a very attractive color, and
I like the looks
Yeah,
of
I
it.
think
Yeah.
it's nice. Yeah.
it is pretty basic. I mean, you see a lot of pavilions around the sort of the accents or what have you would have might be, with the little bit curve of archway on the
Right.
on the enter, but it's not, you can't do a whole lot with the design. It's pretty basic,
So
which
then
keeps the cost down
we're approving more money
for the architect.
for the art, and where's that money coming from?
It would be from the CPA funds that are available.
For the entire project,
Yes.
but you think that you'll be okay because there'll be a cost savings on the,
Yes,
Okay.
I don't think, in our mind, right, like I said, we've reached out to 2 different firms, got some prices, and it's hard to them to give us a firm price, obviously. And as long as we get a general contractor interested, we think, we have more than enough funds to get it done.
okay. Okay,
I mean, it's the money already approved.
right, it's
And-
spending approved money.
And I know they don't want to keep going back and
Right.
forth. And it's been a long process. It's been a hard process to try to bring it within a budget that's reasonable. And it was way too expensive for the last design, but now with a timber frame, it's probably better for Hatfield.
Yeah, things have a way of working out
Yeah,
in
and
the end,
it will look sort of like a natural,
Yeah, I think it will look good,
I think it will look nice. It's a nice rendering, what you've given us. So, so do we need to vote this?
Yes, please. So
Okay.
a contract will be drawn up for the board to sign, but
I
if you're
have it.
voting tonight.
Isn't this the
is-
contract I have? This is with Laura Fitch.
Well, is this the change order
this
they're authorizing?
Yeah, and that's,
So we'll still need a contract though for her services, no?
whatever, I'm not sure.
well, either for her.
Oh, so I see. This is actually
For her.
change order for her existing contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
Right.
it's a
Okay.
cumulative thing.
And then the
I
contract
understand.
for the
Okay,
builder
got it,
eventually
got
will
it.
come.
Okay.
So
Never
then we
mind.
can just,
Mhm.
but we vote to sign this?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, make a motion to approve this.
Second,
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No, I just want to thank you and your committee because you've been working at this for a few years now.
We're
And
looking
I know
forward to
it's been
getting it done.
hard.
It's required some patience on your part, and we
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
And this is just for me to sign, it
Right.
looks like.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks,
And your
Rich.
committee. See you next month. And a month after, and a month after.
No. So I'm sorry, let's backtrack and do minutes.
Yeah, I'll
I
make a
would-
motion to,
I had a quick discussion with Karen before the meeting on the October 26th and the November 29th executive session minutes. I had some suggested changes, so can we table those? She'll make those changes and present them next time.
it's okay with me. Was there a particular executive session on the 29th? Because I think we had 2.
There's 2.
The first one that was at 5 PM. Because one was after the meeting.
Yeah,
So the 5 PM one, I just had
so hold
some,
off, or
just
to
to
table.
put aside until
Yep.
a few changes are made to those.
So I will make a motion to approve the November 29th regular session meeting and the November 29th executive session second meeting that was held
At 8:22 PM.
8:22 PM.
Second.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now we have the agreement between the town of Hatfield and the Teamsters Union Local 404, Unit A, which is the laborers.
Yep, so that contract just, the select board had approved
Approved
the,
Right.
the tentative agreement with what was added or changes made. This is the complete contract for the board's signature.
And
The
so
union-
do
the
we
union
don't
has
need to
signed it.
revote it? We
No,
just
you don't.
Okay. This one is for all three of us. Brian, thanks for your work on that. That was really something you
Oh.
took the lead on, and we appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Excuse me, you're welcome. And my thanks to Marlene as well.
Yep.
And
A
Phil.
lot of work.
Yep.
And Phil.
Thank you. Brian does very well at those meetings.
Thank you.
Okay,
Marlene.
the electrical permit fee schedule. Come on up. Mr. Pachorik,
Hi, Tim.
you're visiting us all the time lately.
You all have
Different
copies
hats,
of the
yes,
fee schedule? Okay, great.
yes.
Yep.
So did you want to speak to this, just so residents know what you're
Basically,
proposing?
the fee schedule hadn't been changed for, best we could tell, 10 to 15 years.
Mhm.
And I know Kyle was just saying in the last 8 years, he doesn't remember it being changed. And I think it's been over 10, I believe. So the fees are way outdated. So what I did is in the last bunch of months, probably 6 months, I've been looking at fee schedules in about 63 different towns, all of which I personally work in. So I'm familiar with those fee schedules. And then I really modeled our fee schedule compared to about 20 towns and communities right around us. But I looked at all the fee schedules in the 63 fee schedules that I was telling you about. And some of their fee schedules were way out of whack. Just to give you an example, City of Amherst has a fee schedule for a generator that costs about $350 to put a generator in, but you could wire a whole house for, I think it's $200, multiple inspections. So that's what I mean by out of whack. So I looked at our schedule and put a lot of thought into it. For the most part, for residential, the minimum inspections used to be $50. They're $60 now. So they went up $10, not a lot. The commercial and agricultural, for the most part, stayed the same. As a matter of fact, it actually got better for some of the smaller jobs. So if we have, let's say somebody takes out a permit to wire an air conditioner, instead of the minimum, what used to be $250 plus a percentage of the job cost, now it's, I want to say, about $100 for a minimum inspection. Because it didn't make sense to charge a commercial customer just because they're commercial, or just because they're a farmer that, however much, it didn't make sense to charge a huge amount of money when some of these might be a minor repair that an inspector could come out one time and the inspection fee was more than the whole job cost for so that didn't make a whole lot of sense. But we did up, the single family homes, some of the renovations. We made the commercial and industrial agricultural a little easier to understand. For the most part, our new buildings and renovations for commercial is based on the job cost. And that pretty much stayed the same, but we added the optional method of if it was a smaller job. And there's a third method. It's pretty much spelled out a
Mhm.
little easier than it was before. I used to get calls all the time for people trying to, understand the permits, or they would send in a permit for $50 when it should have been $350, and so it's a little clearer now for contractors to see. And I just broke up a bunch of different, like for instance, a in-ground pool is one cost, where an above ground is another cost. And the one thing that we added was a trench fee. We didn't used to have that in the fee schedules, and that's one extra inspection that we have to go out for. So we added if whatever job has to also have a trench involved, then we added that trench fee. So there's an additional fee for that. And solar was where probably the biggest change out of the whole thing. Solar was a $50 fee. It's now a minimum of $250 for residential. And the reason is the number of inspections, the size, the cost of the job as a whole, and just more paperwork involved. So our the assistant inspector, which is Craig Neal, who's behind me, he's I call him my solar guru because he works in the solar industry. So he also knows a lot of the permit fees in a lot of the different other towns, and he says, I don't know why it's so low here. And that's one of the things, again, it's one of those that were out of whack. So that got adjusted to be closer to the other communities around us. That's it.
Well, this is certainly
For approval on the new fee schedule.
very well thought out. And, it's great that there's sort of more consistency, but it's still very reasonable fees,
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah, the
So-
fee increases, which were necessary and had been so many years, but they're fair. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't, you guys aren't proposing doubling this or tripling that or anything like it's just, cost of things go up, the cost of people's time goes up, and
Instead
they
of
seem
going 10
very
or
fair.
15, instead of going 10 or 15 years, I'd like to revisit maybe every 2 years.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's smart.
even if it's a $5 or $10.
We're a
fee
little
increase, it's
guilty of
not
that
big
on a number of different things, sort of wanting to keep things, and then it catches up with you sometimes. So that's probably a great plan. But a lot of time and thought and work and expertise went into that, and I appreciate it, Tim. I don't have any.
I just had a quick question. So are these online somewhere? Or will they be online? Can they be online? So
Old
if somebody
schedule
wants to
is,
know,
and
yeah.
we'd like to get this
Okay.
updated as soon as possible. And now normally,
I didn't know when you would want to put it.
Well, just if somebody's curious what they're going to cost
Last
me,
time we
it's,
changed fees, it was approved as of like the first of the year or so.
Yeah,
That's what I think
Yeah.
we should do. Do it as of the first of the year.
Is that what you would recommend, first
yeah,
of the
I
year,
think that makes
effective January 1st?
gives people time to get their permits in before the first. Before the
Heads up.
I
No,
doubt there'll be a mad
no,
scramble on this, but
but really though, I don't know if Gerard wants to do, how we do this, but I know when there are other increases in other towns, me as a contractor, I typically, some of them will notify us and say, this is effective such and such, make sure you know about it. And then others just throw it up and you send in a permit fee and they call you and say, that's not the right fee, and then you got to send it. So however, I don't know if
It
you have a
might be a good
recommendation.
idea if he has a mailing list to do a short mailing of the most common
That's,
contractors.
yeah.
Or
Good
fax
idea.
numbers or what have you, or even emails. And
Should we make it February 1st to be fair to?
No,
or
I'd still January
January.
1st.
Still
yeah.
January 1st?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll
Yeah.
try to see. This is where my next step on online permitting would be so handy,
Right.
because you'd have everybody's email address. You just fire it right to them.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Well, it is the way the
Sometimes
world
they'll
works
publish the
now,
other fees,
Yeah.
so-
being able
Right.
to do things online, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll take this first step.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we need to take a vote on
Okay.
these,
Thank you for all the work you guys put into this. This
Yeah.
is pretty good.
and just your work in general. We appreciate
Yeah,
you.
both of them, Tim and Craig, awesome to work with, so.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the Town of Hatfield electrical permit fee schedule as presented, effective January 1st, 2023.
I'll second that.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Easy.
Again, Tim, Craig.
Thank you.
Kyle.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, so next we have MassWorks grant funding from the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development. This is the contract.
Right, so this
I
is for the
signed this.
additional 1.5 million.
Okay,
So if, for the record, the board would vote to accept this contract with MassWorks for that amount.
okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the MassWorks grant funding for additional MassWorks grant funding for the Route 5 water and sewer project as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next, we have our DPW director in. Phil, do you want to come up? And the topic that Phil is here tonight is to discuss a new hire for wastewater operations. And there's just a quick little explanation that probably would be helpful for townspeople to have on this. We'll be hiring Eric Meals, who was our former wastewater treatment superintendent. Maybe you just want to explain.
So DEP regulations for that plant calls for 2 grade 4, well, let me step back. 1 grade 4 and 1 grade 3 license holder. We currently have 1 grade 4 superintendent and we have 1 operator in training who has his grade 2. So in order for him to go up to a 4, he has to have a little bit of experience as well as taking another test for the grade 4 license. He could surely take the grade 3, but my conversation with him has been, why not just go for the 4 and we'll have 2 4 operators down there. So in the meantime, to comply with DEP's non-compliance violation, we need to hire a part-time operator that has a grade 4 license or more. So currently Eric holds a grade 6 license, which is far and few to have somebody with that quality license. And we reached out, and before contacting Eric, I reached out to DPC, our consulting engineer, and he was willing to come aboard, but the cost would have been 2 times as great, so.
Someone other than Eric. Yeah.
Yes, so I reached out to Eric, and Eric is willing to come back and in front of you have that job.
And how many hours and how long?
Work 8 hours. DEP is requiring between 8 and 10, so we're going to put him at 8 hours a week to come in, and he will be, the person that's reporting to DEP with the licenses and whatever needs to be done. He's going to do in that 8-hour time, and then we'll be in compliance until the operating training completes his grade 4, grade 3 license.
Do you have an estimate?
I'd say 4 months at the most.
Okay.
I would say.
And this is within your line to afford
Yeah,
this?
so we don't need any funding because when Eric left as the superintendent, he was funded from July on, and we didn't hire the new employee till October. So
there's
there's money in that
okay.
budget to cover this.
Well, I appreciate that Eric is willing, to
Right.
come back and do this. When I saw this, I was very excited thinking Eric was coming back. but, all right, so we just need a motion then to approve this. Any questions, or do you?
No, I think it's great that Eric's coming back and it puts us in compliance, so we're not getting into any kind of litigation or anything, and so that works out
I mean,
pretty
we don't
good.
want to pay fines or,
And that's what it would come down to. If you're in non-compliance and you don't do anything about it, you would be fined. So
I'll make a motion to, we need a motion on this to
Yes.
accept. I'll make a motion to accept this part-time hire for, let's see, 4 months at least, maybe.
Maybe we can word it until certification is
yeah.
received by,
Until
really
which
stay on top
time
of
is
that.
deemed appropriate.
but yeah.
I'll second that.
motion made and second.
it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, please thank Eric for us. And that needs to be signed. Okay, thanks, Phil. Anything else?
How'd the
Nice
first snow
job on
go?
the storm. I left very early and the roads were great.
Yeah, we completed the roads and the sidewalks and treated what we had to treat. It was, thank God, light snow, but what happened is that the ground was so warm that it packed in places, so it wasn't like it just was so cold that, it just blew off the road. So, we had a few issues around, but no major breakdowns, and the guys worked a few hours longer than they wanted to, I think, but
That was a long.
it all turned out
long one.
well.
Good. Another one coming.
Another one coming Thursday, so it's supposed to be a little warmer, rain mixed, like I said, give me a foot of snow and don't give me any of that mixed stuff, so.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yep, thanks, Phil.
Okay, the next topic is the 2023 annual license renewals. Oh, wait a minute.
Can I
Do we?
interrupt for just a moment?
Yes.
Well, while Kyle's here, he left for each of you a proposal with Full Circle Technologies. This is a
Yes.
software program
Mhm.
for building permits. Did you want to speak to that just a little bit, if it's okay, if that's
Sure.
acceptable?
So it's for online permitting, which residents and contractors would be able to go online, make out their building permits. If they had from a shed to a new house, whatever, you attach the documents, upload them, and it goes right to us. Electrical, for these guys that just left, electricians can go online, make out their own permits. Plumbers can go on. They do have an option where the town residents can also look at permits, because you get curious people, so they can do that on occasion.
Can you look at someone's building permit?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and see
Well, it's
what's
public
happening in
record,
town.
right?
It's public record.
Right.
Actually saves a person picking up the phone and answering the questions that they can find themselves. It's streamlined, so a report would get generated to the tax collector. In other towns I've worked in, you won't issue a building permit if the person has a lot of outstanding real estate or something due, taxes. Even excise on cars, they won't issue a permit, most towns. So what happens is Patty or somebody in the tax collector's office would sign off each permit before it comes to me to issue it and approve it with the fee. The money goes right into Unibank, so they can pay online.
Where we pay our stuff now, I think.
Yeah, it's very, very nice system.
Yeah.
And this one I've worked with before, this Full Circle.
So is this something you're going to maybe put into your budget, or is this
I would like if we could consider getting it started even now. If there's funds available, Marlene suggested there might be, but then on an annual basis, yes, I'd pick it up in my new budget.
how much is it to get started?
7,500. And then there's some other options that you would need. It's probably in the 12,000 range to get it set up for now. And then the annual subscription fee would be 4,160. It's on page 7, Diana.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I see that.
Wouldn't the assessor's office have access to this as well?
Yes, the assessor would have
That's what I
it.
thought,
It
yeah.
would be very helpful to Jen.
Yeah.
It would even be helpful to the finance committee, wondering if our tax base grows, because they'd be able to see what's in there. You know, because a lot of times they don't see
New growth,
individual
new growth
permits.
until
New growth,
later.
yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, we just got a permit in $1.7 million for CNS on Elm Street. I mean, all these things, the finance committee would be able to monitor more what our revenues are. So it's got a lot of pluses.
And so
to it.
where are you suggesting this money comes from?
Well, potential money, perhaps ARPA funds, if the select board was willing to consider that. Otherwise, yes, it would have to be, either way, if it's not funded in this
Oh, yeah.
current year, he would be proposing that for his FY24 budget. And that would include the one-time cost plus the annual.
And it also reduces paper clutter. It all goes onto a server, so you don't have hard manual files anymore. And then it would free up the clerks like Gerard, because he wouldn't be manually mailing people back electrical permits and so forth. They'd be generated. I approve it online. My signature attaches to it, and it gets emailed right back to the person after they pay. So it makes a lot of sense.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. You save on labor, you save on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It makes accessible to everybody. And talking to Kyle earlier, the fees that they generate are usually more than the cost within his
Yes.
department. So the fees that are generated already are higher than what the departmental costs are.
Yeah,
And
we
this
take
may
in
even
much more
generate,
money.
this will save some money on the labor costs, and this will actually make it accessible to everybody.
Will it save money on labor costs? I mean, we're not going to reduce the line by anything, right? I mean, it might free
Well, it
people up to
free-
do other work.
Yeah, it would free up somebody like Gerard to do other
Right,
functions.
Right.
The assistant assessor and I with Kyle saw a demonstration of this program a few weeks back, and I was really impressed.
Well,
with
and
it.
you know, it's just the way people do business now, right? I mean, it's just really bringing us into
It's a
the
great-
present.
Great thing
It's-
for the assessors. It's a great thing to make sure people don't have large amounts of outstanding real estate tax, and then you keep giving them permits. It cuts out some of the unsavory aspects of building too, like people, trying to cheat without a license or, there's a lot of safeguards to it.
Well, how does it help that? I mean,
Well,
they could,
because it tends to, you can have it linked so they have to record their license number and then you can do.
oh, I see, without a
automatic lookups.
license.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. I thought you meant without a permit.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
All right.
No.
But
But without a permit, it actually helps too, because you can have a tablet right in your car. You drive by X number on Bridge Street and you go, geez, did I issue them a permit for that? And you just type in the address and it'll show you if they have one.
Okay.
So,
I don't have a problem with it. I think makes things a lot more convenient for the people doing business in town.
all the
Makes
local
things-
towns have done it. Hadley, West Hampton, Southampton, Deerfield is looking at the same company. So it's widely done.
Yeah, it's time to park the horse and get a car. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
And I was going to ask the question, but in thumbing through this, I already see it. So there's some training, is
there would
also
be.
included in the
Yes.
initial startup and cost.
I use programs similar to this in Northampton, but the other town I deal with right now, Southwick, uses this company. And from my sitting at the chair and seeing it for the first time, I was whipping out permits within 3 days. So it's not a hard program.
Mhm.
Do we need to, is there adequate ARPA funds left to cover this? And,
The current cash available is 124,000. That's
okay,
readily
but
available now.
that's not already committed to other
It's
things?
not
Okay.
committed.
Okay. I think it's,
It certainly seems like a well worth program. I think, and I'm fine with it.
Mhm.
I just want to know whether it's right now, if you have the answer, Kyle, or we can just get it in the next couple of days, is exactly what the first year is going to cost. Or, I mean, I can see it 7,800. Basically, it looks.
I can
To-
put
to start it,
Marlene in with my content.
Well, just so we know what we're voting on at the time we vote, we're going to need
Because
we're going
you'll
to need an
to vote-
exact
they'll
we're going
have
to need an
vote
exact
the
number.
amount.
I would
Right.
believe
Get
it's,
an actual,
I would believe it's no more than 12,000. So if you wanted to approve the limit up to 12,000 now,
Yeah, it looks like the first year would be just under 12.
Right.
If what I'm reading on this
Yeah.
is,
That's
like
right.
you said, page 7 is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess well, it doesn't matter. The company wouldn't care what our annual thing is, but I'm just wondering.
Well, I wonder if they would prorate it at this point.
That's what I
Yeah.
was. That's
The
what I
annual
was.
fee is
The one
for,
time is the one time regardless.
Marlene, what I can do is I can give you my contact name and number for down there and you could talk to her
I'll be glad to.
directly, Pamela.
okay.
And then,
yeah, because if we started this, if we entered into the agreement January 1st,
You're
then
talking
it would
6
just be, really, that
months.
should be
5 months. Well, that's
$2,000
kind of where I was
Yeah.
going
And then
with this. So that's all.
4,000 starting on July 1
Right.
would be.
when it actually comes live is a delay anyway, because it has to be formatted in beta, I believe they said.
Yeah. Well, we're meeting again in a couple weeks. It sounds like we have a consensus certainly to move forward. We're just
Well,
going to
we're
need
not
to know the
meeting
numbers.
till,
right?
for almost a month.
Well, first week of January.
Let's get it done,
Can
Brian.
we vote to approve it up to
12,000.
12,000,
12,000.
but with the understanding that we fully expect that annual fee to be prorated
Rated.
appropriately?
If possible. I mean, we don't know how they, maybe they run a calendar year and we run every 6
I
months.
believe they
Yeah.
run fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So-
but I would think they would understand that.
They would understand, if they're working with municipalities, this is how it works.
I would
So,
expect they would understand that.
so I would
we would-
approve it.
Another thing too, I think you can go to them. They want new customers.
Sure.
You can go to them and go, hey, this is what it is. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Or next, we talked to another company.
So I would say we approve it up to whatever amount with the caveat that we expect that annual fee to be prorated appropriately.
Okay.
So I'll make that motion, that we approve this, what's the?
Startup costs or whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
the actual startup costs with the annual fee prorated appropriately
January 30th. Right. That's what we're
June
trying to do.
30th,
June 30th.
Through June 30th.
June 30th, and from whatever the start time actually is.
Yes, from
Yeah.
whatever till.
And
we're all
in
saying
an
the same
amount,
thing.
we could probably say in an amount up to 10,000 so that we know that
Correct,
it's
you're
got to
right, it
be
shouldn't- yeah,
prorated.
Shouldn't
So
be
I'll put that in the
12,000.
motion, up to $10,000 and to
Okay.
have that paid for with ARPA funding.
Second.
Anything, Ed?
No, I think you got it all figured out now. We're all set. I think we're good.
Okay, so a motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
So
Kyle.
we have this appointment here from the fire chief. This is on the position that was
Thanks, Kyle.
New
approved at the
full-time.
last meeting. We don't need to vote. This is just a signature, right?
Correct.
But it doesn't have it's effective December 18th. So just for the sake of townspeople knowing, there is a full-time firefighter EMT that will be brought on effective December 18th. And this is a second shift, right? There's like 3 in the afternoon to 11 PM.
Yes.
Right.
You know what would be nice, maybe if we could have this gentleman
Yep.
come in for
Come
a
in, it would
meeting
be
so that
nice.
townspeople could meet.
I talked to the fire chief a couple of weeks ago about, maybe him posting an announcement on their website, the fire department's website about this, and, that funds were supported for the hire of a
Yeah,
new full-time.
but it might be nice for
So he
townspeople
said he will be
to-
doing that, but yeah, I agree, yeah, that would be
Maybe we
nice
could
have
try
him
to,
in there.
I don't know what the January 10th agenda's
Okay.
looking like, but maybe we could try to get
Invite him in.
him in, because he should be on shift at that time.
Absolutely. he would
So-
be. Yep.
Karen, on this 2023 seasonal population increase estimation form, does that require a vote? No,
Just to sign it. That is, if we were a town.
at our limits?
Like a vacation.
Oh, yeah, okay.
destination, and, but because Hatfield's not.
Okay, it just says not applicable.
That's right.
And then this other renewal certification, it's all blank. Do you fill that in afterwards?
It stays blank.
It stays blank?
Yeah,
we
not
just sign a
sure
blank
which
form?
one.
Okay. This is the renewal certification 2023. I see why it's blank, because it's to say if we failed to renew anyone or if we
Right.
disapproved. Okay.
Yeah.
So we should probably take these up first and then we'll do those. So now we are going to go through and approve our 2023 license renewals. And so this still says 2022. I don't know that it matters. It's just a memo, but it probably should say 2023.
You are correct.
And in looking at these, the Mill River, so under full liquor licenses, there's Mill River Ventures. Was that,
It's going to continue Mill River Ventures until I haven't even gotten paid.
Right.
okay,
They
so
still-
we're going to
yeah.
approve this so they have a
Right.
current license
That's
at the
correct.
transfer
That's
time.
correct.
Right.
Okay, and then there was one other one that I think I guess that was it. I guess that was the only one that I had a question about. Okay. Anybody else have any questions about these?
No.
So we are approving our liquor licenses, which is all the different types of liquor licenses, including package store, restaurants, clubs, farm winery, but also our class 1, 2, and 3 auto dealer licenses, our entertainment licenses, and our automatic amusement licenses. So those are all do we need to itemize those, or we can vote them as presented? Okay.
And all the inspections are
And we
complete.
can just sign
The
these.
inspections are complete.
There are 4 establishments that I have to hold the
Okay,
licenses
until-
I
okay.
hear back from the fire
Yeah.
chief.
I saw the emails there. I didn't know if they were.
4 that are, 4 that are not on here.
They are. You're going to sign them, I just need to hold them.
Gotcha.
She
Got
won't
it,
issue
got
it
it, got it.
until she gets a
Right.
notification from the fire
We just don't
chief.
give it to them.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Well, and I'm sure he'll get there in a timely fashion, so. Okay, so we can do one vote on all of these licenses. And just for townspeople to know, we are reinstating the fees on these licenses.
Yes.
We had, in an effort to help businesses that were really struggling during the pandemic, we had done away with the licensing fees for a while, but we have reinstituted those now.
Mhm.
So I'll take a motion and then we can just sign as we move through the rest of the meeting, I guess.
So before I make the motion, Diana, but we also have different categories of licenses.
Yeah.
So are we doing all the licenses in this one motion? For example, we've got all licensing, installers, septic haulers, all those things. So in our
Septic?
motion, I didn't know if we were doing it all.
I thought we were doing the ones that were listed in the memo.
Well, this was in there as well.
Put in there by accident.
I was gonna say.
Oh, I don't
septic,
need-
yeah.
Oh, that one is just for you to take a look at.
Okay.
So this way you can see what each license,
Okay.
the different licenses and the total amount brought in for the town for this year.
Okay.
That includes the Board of Health license, all
Licenses,
licenses.
yes.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like, we
Oh.
have commercial haulers.
We don't
well, I
license
didn't
them.
expect
Yeah,
it to
yeah,
be-
Board of
wanted to
Health,
make
yeah.
sure I
okay.
made the vote once, or the motion once.
So
So,
you're not voting on that part.
got it, just
It's
something.
the memo.
You know, what's interesting is our licensing fees are very low.
They are.
I wonder how they compare to other communities.
But like the entertainment and amusement, I think those are the max. You can't charge any more than what we already are charging. Because that's regulated by statute.
Yeah, I mean, I get that some of them
Mm.
are, but some of these are, pretty low. I just want to make sure we're on the money, that's all.
The Board of Health raised their fees back, I want to say September.
Oh,
And so,
okay. Okay. Are you guys?
Might be something to look at for
Yeah,
next year,
we could
because
do
we're,
that. Look at the liquor one.
we've waived them the last 2 years for our restaurant,
Well,
or for our liquor licenses,
Well,
right?
those
So-
licenses, yeah, I was talking about
Oh,
some of
some of the
other ones
others?
on the list.
Okay. All right, well, I will make a motion to approve the licenses for the liquor licenses, the Class 1, 2, 3 auto dealer licenses, the entertainment licenses, the automatic amusement licenses, as presented for the year 2023.
Second.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we can start signing all these licenses, but also I can just sign these now, these two forms, because
Putting all those together, I know
Yes,
that's a lot of work.
I used to do this and years ago when I worked for the town, and it's a huge amount of work.
Mhm.
So thank you, Karen.
Karen's time tracking down these people to remind them they need to
Yeah.
get
Well,
their license
they're busy
renewal.
people. They're,
Yeah,
they're
that's
running
true.
businesses and, okay, so I'm going to just start signing these while we move through. So Marlene, the Climate Smart Comprehensive Plan,
The Comprehensive Plan Committee kicked off their first meeting last Thursday on December 8th. I joined remotely for about a half hour because I was, away. Patty Gambarini, and Ken Camilla from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission are the consultants the town is working with. And basically what we did was just went over the scope of work for the committee and laid out, proposed plan for the next 2 years. Introductions were made. Unfortunately, there were some people that did not make that kickoff meeting. And I have asked Mickey Sanderson to be a co-chair, and I will be talking with another member,
that's great.
also co-chair.
Yeah, Mickey will be great.
And so I'm still catching up on the rest of the meeting that evening with Patty Gambarini. But one of the tasks outlined in this comprehensive plan is to provide equity, diversity, and inclusion training for town staff and town boards. And I know it will be difficult for members of boards and committees to join, but I strongly urge that town employees participate in the training.
Mhm.
And so I have presented, I don't expect that you've had a chance to look at it.
I did
It's
see
just
this.
a scope of what that training would look like. And I guess really the purpose of bringing this up with the board is to, get feedback from the board. Do we want to make this mandatory? I think it's really important that staff, even if we didn't have this comprehensive plan, it's something I would recommend that employees take
I
even
mean,
once a year.
I think if there's a way that it can also include
6
people who are
hours.
serving on board, elected and appointed officials,
Mhm.
maybe there's a version that you can log on or something. There should be something for everybody.
So my thought process is, so it's a total of 6 hours of
You're faster
training.
than me.
So, we'd spread it out over 2 or 3 months,
Mhm.
and the training would be in person. My understanding is it would be in person. So I'm asking employees to maybe stay a little later, like an hour, or do it from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. I don't
It
want to
can't
have
be
to.
done on town
I
time. I mean,
prefer,
this
I
is.
prefer to do it during regular hours, so at the end of the day.
I mean, yeah, I don't think we need to ask people to work longer to do this, just to schedule it so
Mm.
that.
Like a professional
It
development
is,
day.
it's, yeah, it's
pretty-
all,
yeah.
yeah, I
And
don't,
I would agree that it should be during the day, and I guess
I
I'm
mean, I
not.
would assume that there's plenty of organizations that offer this training, and it's
During the workday.
mostly being done for
Mhm.
employers, so during the workday.
It's not remote, it's all in person.
I believe it's all in person.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there would be
I actually
somebody
think
that would
that's
come
really
and
great.
provide the training.
In person better than
Yeah, I do
online.
too. It's just this day and age, it seems like you hardly ever get that anymore.
I hear you.
I think for this particular content, in person would be much better. So that's good,
Is this just,
let's
do you need
explore
an
getting that.
action on our part? Or?
Well, as I say, I am recommending strongly that employees be required to attend this training.
So we'd have to update
So
our
I'm-
HR policy, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know I don't know what comes first. Do we do that first, or do we say you have to take the training? Yeah,
Why do we have to update the personnel policy?
because everyone's got to take it. If it's a
It's-
fact that you have to take it in order to be employed here, is that
Right,
or,
it'd
or
be a-
remain?
Yeah, it's
employed
a
here? I mean,
condition of
it's a-
employment.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
condition
know,
of employment. Okay.
Employment that you would be required, any employee would be required to.
Well, I would think we could
Take-
probably
And is it a-
fairly quickly get that.
And is it a one-time? Will there
Well,
be
for this,
updates?
it's part of the project, the
Okay.
comprehensive plan, developing the comprehensive plan. It's part of that project. As I just mentioned, though, even if we didn't have this project,
Yeah, it's still
I
a good.
still would recommend that we offer
right.
some type of training, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be, it could be once a year. It doesn't have to be total of 6 hours. It could be less.
I think it's a good idea.
So my question is it yearly training, or is it a building block for future training?
I would say a building block for
For
future.
so the plan is next year you'd take something that built upon
Yes.
the training you took
Yes.
this year type of thing,
Yes.
right?
And new employees would just step into wherever we are in the.
That's
okay.
correct. Yeah. That's how I would
Okay.
view it. Yeah, it would be ongoing.
Okay.
I mean, as an employer, I think it's important that we provide training that we deem appropriate. And I think we also have the right to make it mandatory if we want to make sure that everybody's on top of stuff.
Well, and a few months ago, Ed, you probably recall that you had a conversation with me about maybe even department heads being required to, attend training, whether it's, remotely, through webinars,
Right.
but to attend once a year. And
This is for that.
I think that was an excellent suggestion, but even take a little further in all employees.
Right.
And I
it should
think
be.
I really think that at least elected, maybe even people serving on appointed boards. If it's a webinar kind of thing, if there's that component.
I think it should be offered to those people. I don't know that we can make an elected official or take a training.
Yeah, because they're
class.
volunteering.
Correct.
Yeah. They're,
I mean, it could be strongly recommended. I mean, we have to do
Yeah.
our code of ethics every year. That's
Mhm.
one thing.
Well,
But
that's
other than
true, but
that,
I mean, there's
it's-
certain training, like even at UMass, it was mandatory that it was important that employees attended. So I guess it comes down to, if you think the training is important to the employee and to the employer, then I think you make it mandatory. That's just how I feel, because I've had to go through a lot of different training that was required.
Likewise,
So-
but we weren't elected. We were hired. We were
Right.
employees. That's my only point. Yeah, I don't know how we can force an elected official or an appointed official
so
to
it
take
would
a
be by
training.
policy for
diversity and-
employees and strongly encouraged for elected and appointed officials.
True, we can encourage and hope that the the elected officials attend.
Mhm.
I was thinking more on the other side, not the elected side. I was thinking of more of our employees, so.
Right, definitely for the
yeah.
employees. Yeah. So
Okay.
I think, yeah, will work well.
And
And
if-
there's
if we
nothing we
do-
need to do right now.
If we do make any training mandatory, I think it's important to find out if there's anybody that's not attending. That's important.
Okay. There was a suggestion made by Mr. Moriarty about adding a policy or updating the HR policy to include that language.
If
So
if it's going to be something that continues onward,
Continues.
and we're going to, and the board chooses that it is mandatory, then it definitely has. I would imagine it has to be in the HR policy.
Yeah.
I don't know that it has to be there beforehand. I mean, when is this kind of
This,
starting or?
I expect
beginning,
this
or-
will probably start in January. We're a little behind schedule. If you look at this, we were supposed to start in November. But the committee just had their kickoff meeting last week.
But I do want to note, as far as elected officials, there is some training that is required by the state. You have
The
to,
ethics,
you
yes,
have to, it's
Mhm.
mandatory. So whether you're elected or not,
right.
they require it. So on
Right,
the
I
other
mean, we have
hand,
to submit that to the town clerk,
Mhm.
the certificate of that.
Mhm.
I think it's important. I'd like to find a way to have it be required for electeds, but
in the $18,000?
That's the total cost. The in-kind match is the town's responsibility, the $3,960.
Yeah.
The 15,000 is through the grant that we received, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant.
Right. So if this continues the following year, is the
Yeah,
grant
there's gonna be a
guaranteed every
cost
year?
to it. No, no,
So the program costs $19,000.
right.
I'm just throwing it out there. I am not
Mhm.
against this, but we just all need to understand
Right,
that it's costing the town $4,000 this year.
Yeah.
Because we have a grant for $15,000. And then the following year, who knows about grants or what the cost of the program could be,
Mhm.
right? So personally, I'd like to find out more information about this.
Okay.
I am not against it
Mhm.
at all. I think these are important.
Yeah,
um,
clearly there's a funding piece. to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there's
Mhm.
a funding piece, and I'm
Mhm.
not sure. Do you know what they base the cost of the program on? Like
I-
20 employees, 100 employees? Does this include teachers?
Yeah,
Is this
yeah.
only the direct town of
Mhm,
Hatfield
mhm.
employees? And I'm only saying that because $19,000 seems like a lot of money for a 6-hour training program to me.
Mhm.
I
Well,
don't know if it is
Those
or
are
it
good
isn't.
questions.
and you
But
make an
you know.
interesting point. So
Yeah.
let's say you and Karen go through this full training this year.
Mhm.
Is it something that next year there's sort of more of a refresher
yeah.
sort of thing where it's maybe not 6 hours, you go through that, but as we onboard employees, they're required to go. I just don't know how.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
that's all.
You know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's a good question.
Yes, it
Thanks.
is.
Well, like Ed, I've gone through a lot of training through the
Yeah.
years, so, and like yourself as well, I'm
Mm.
sure. So, and sometimes, it'll say phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have 3 years to complete these, or
Yeah.
there's all sorts of different things. So,
Yeah.
because we want it to be useful for the employees, right?
Right.
And so you want them to do it, you want them to take the time to
Mhm.
absorb the information. But we need to know what our plan
Right.
for the
Future costs.
future,
Mhm.
for the costs, and what programs kind of come next,
Right.
you know? And what do we do if everyone's done by the end of January on this, or whenever the training's done, and somebody gets hired in March or April?
Right.
Right.
Are they,
Right. Yeah, well, for the purpose of this task that's
Yeah,
identified
that's
in
fine.
the
Yep.
overall comprehensive plan,
right?
this would just be for this
moment in
mo-
time.
Right.
Okay. And that's fine. I just wanted to know, does it include the schools or no, just town? Their employees, but town versus school
Well,
department. I'm just reading the town
And I had a
staff.
conversation with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission that I'd like to include the school if they're, agreeable, and it may just be the administrative staff or
I
custodians.
suspect
The
they've done
teachers
some of this.
probably-
I
They
bet
may
I
have.
bet
I
they've
would hope
done
so.
some of
They
this.
may
yeah.
have. I have not had a conversation with the superintendent,
I'm just curious.
so,
Okay.
but I will follow up on that and see if that's something they're open to, if they haven't already done that.
Well, can you imagine having a professional development day that the schools have once a month or once every couple of months, or at least they used to? And that would be a day where this training could happen, or at least half of it. And that would be the day that all our employees went at the same, it just, I don't know if it would
Yeah.
come that way, but it just, with the proper planning, it could be that the training is on, March 13th.
Mm.
Plan on being there, everybody, unless you're on, something like that. I don't know. But
But you're right, though, they have those professional development days.
I
They do
I
schedule-
suspect they've already done this
yeah,
work.
probably something
Yeah.
similar.
Okay. I'll follow up at our next meeting on this.
So that looks like the end of the
I don't want
the
to hold you
posted
up
business,
on
except
moving
for
forward with that.
Oh, I can still move forward
Okay.
anyway with the employees
Oh,
and,
okay.
yeah, you
Okay.
can still move forward. But you're just talking about future costs.
Future of, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're all good.
so that's the end of the posted business, with the exception of the executive session.
Okay. That was quick.
So we'll need a motion to go into executive session.
I'm on it. I'll make a motion to go into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and not return to open session.
I'll second that, and Jaworski, aye.
Moriarty, aye.
Zinal, aye.
Okay. Thanks, John. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.